us the mountains, peace gave us the sky. Nightly when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby.
The seasons, peace gave us the rain, cool clouds that gather to bless us, mist hands that soothe away pain. Amen. Peace gave us our heart's love. Peace gave us our smiles. Rays of thy presence within us. Light that all strife reconciles. Amen.
The amusing backstory for Peace is that Swami Kriyananda originally wanted to write a somewhat comic melody on A for his play The Singer and the Nightingale. In that story, this famous singer loses his ability to sing that note. He's always going flat or something on it. And through his adventures with the different birds in the forest and the nightingale, he gains that note back, and it's more beautiful than ever. And so because he has such a beautiful note, he writes this song that's all on one note, on this most beautiful note of A. And again, it was supposed to be kind of a humorous song because, well, who writes a melody on one note? But Kriyananda says that when he sat down to write the song, another consciousness took over, and what appeared was this just beautiful, wonderful song that has become the favorite of many people and very well known within the group of Ananda music that we have. I will say up front that this song is an antidote for anxiety. It's what Kriyananda assigns to it in his book, Secrets of Emotional Healing. He says the secret of overcoming anxiety is to do your best in the present without attachment to the outcome, knowing that whatever is yours by right will come to you sooner or later, and that all else, even if acquired, will prove evanescent. The deep sense of peacefulness in the song itself is also something that works for worry and restlessness and agitation and tension and stress, which are all, of course, related to anxiety. And really, you could say that any state of consciousness and any emotion that's not peaceful would be helped by this song. You know, Kriyananda also said that if we want peace on earth, we have to live in the consciousness of peace and not just hope that it's going to come to us while we sit around and dwell on problems. He also said that and in his book, Secrets of Bringing Peace on Earth, he said the secret of bringing peace on earth is to bring peace to that little, is to start with the piece of earth on which you already stand now, to bring it into your own life right now, to get to peace by being in tune with divine consciousness. You know, being in attunement with peace and living in the consciousness of peace, that goes well beyond merely affirming it or just reading about it or hoping for it. It's really something you have to bring into every level of your being, and that's what this song does. Because consciousness is a matter primarily of feeling, and music gets you to feeling better than just about anything else, this song induces that state of consciousness within us. Now, it's a really good question to ask, how does it do that, musically speaking? You know, how many songs are written on one note? I really can't think of any, but peace accomplishes everything it does through its words and its rhythm and its harmony rather than the melody. And even that last note on the amens is the same note and just an octave higher. Now, musically speaking, Kriyananda writes in Art as a Hidden Message that melody expresses the heart's aspirations in a song. Now, because peace has no melody per se, you can say it's a song without aspiration, without desire, that is, without ambition, without drive, without expectations. That's kind of its aspiration is peace, so it doesn't have all those desires and drives and ambitions. You know, and what Secrets of Emotional Healing says is exactly that. You know, think of how much anxiety we generate in our lives by the simple act of having expectations of the world, having expectations of life, having expectations of God, which, as I read in another book recently, an expectation is just an obligation you place on the future. You know, we fill our lives up with these things, and so, yeah, we're going to have anxiety because the future is uncertain. We don't know what it will bring, and yet we've placed an obligation on that. You know, and stress, because I gave that the song as an antidote for stress as well. I write in my book, Solving Stress, which is published by Crystal Clarity, that stress comes whenever there's a separation between the way the world is and the way you think it ought to be. If those are together, then there's no stress. But as you move your expectations away from the way the world actually is, away from reality, imagine a rubber band between my fingers. You will feel the tension. The farther away you get, the more tense it is. And what do we always do? We're trying to get the world to come our way, and so we keep pulling on it, and pulling on it, and pulling on it, and there's stress. But the way to overcome that is to come back to reality exactly as it is. And so, because in this song there's no wanting or striving, it is the state of divine consciousness. It's saying that it's talking about the yogi who has joined his or her consciousness with God already has peace, because the yogi has everything and can accept that everything is exactly as it should be. So Peace as a song is brilliant in that it doesn't just talk about peace, it is peace. It really is peace itself. It's the consciousness of peace by that virtue of having no melody. Now, the harmonies that come into here, musically speaking, they deepen the aspiration of the heart. Now, we say there's no aspiration in the song because there's no melody, but really its true aspiration, its soul aspiration is, once again, peace. And the harmonies are supporting that and deepening the sense of peace by demonstrating that consciousness is unchanged regardless of what happens around us. The changing chords and the changing rhythms are like expressing the tides of the worlds and the change in the world of delusion, but yet divine consciousness is untouched. As Yogananda says, you must stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds to have that singular divine consciousness no matter what's happening outside of us. And now the lyrics, to go into those, they tell a different kind of story, more of that. It's showing us how God is always with us through every stage of growth. I like to think of the different verses as different stages of maturity and God's relationship to us during those stages. The first verse is really one of infancy. Peace gave us the mountains, peace gave us the sky. Nightly when starlight enfolds us, very calm and expansive, peace is its lullaby. You know, we're there in Divine Mother's arms, sleeping soundly, sleeping contentedly and peacefully, because we know the divine is there to protect us in that expansive calmness. The second verse then is more that stage of being a toddler where we're going out into the world. Peace gave us the morning. Peace gave us the sun. Bird songs that call us to welcome day and fresh labors begun. We're going out and being active. We're no longer the sleeping infant. We're the toddler now going out into the world. But God is there holding our hands. God is there to catch us if we might slip. I remember as a parent when my son was really small that I would walk around holding his hands so that he could exercise his legs and understand what it was to walk. And I was there to make sure he was protected as I took him out into the world, as he gained his first experiences of the world outside. Now, eventually, you let the child go out further and further, and because the world is a nest of troubles, you will run into difficulty. We do run into pain. We do have hurts. But yet God is waiting for us there, like the parent that runs up to the fallen child and just embraces it and makes sure the child feels secure and safe again before even asking what's wrong. And that third verse expresses that. Peace gave us the seasons. Peace gave us the rain. The seasons being the ups and downs, the joys and sorrows. Rain especially gives us that idea, that sense of sadness. But then cool clouds that gather to bless us, and mist hands that soothe away pain. That's God as the divine parent there to let us know that she's always there no matter what happens to us in life. We can always come back to her and always find those soothing hands. And through these forays into the world, then we gain our strength and we gain that presence of God that's there with us all the time, that we can now learn to be happy amidst all circumstances. Peace gave us our heart's love. Peace gave us our smiles. They come from within, not from circumstances. Rays of God's presence within us through our whole being, a light that all strife reconciles. So we've gone from infancy through toddlerhood, through, you might say, adolescence, and even early adulthood into the awakened adulthood, where God has given us that grace to transmit the light through us that we might give it to others. We go beyond seeking peace for ourselves and become a magnet for peace in the whole world around us. And in that, where is there any space for anxiety or worry? We are living in a consciousness of security and assurance and peace. And in fact, I've really been trying to observe that ever since a few years ago when I read a blog that somebody had written where they used the phrase, a world full of rampant violence and hatred. And I wanted to challenge that statement because when I looked at the world around me, I thought, I don't see that. If I turn the video screens off, if I turn off the news, I turn off social media, I can ask the question, do I really see rampant violence and hatred? And the answer really is no. Now, I've seen, frustration. I've seen a little bit of anger. I've seen annoyance and impatience and that kind of thing. But it's not violence and hatred so much. It's just normal sort of mundane human emotions. What I have seen a lot more is harmony and cooperation and kindness and helpfulness. And if you turn off those video screens too, I think that's likely what you will see. And it's not like I've been just sheltering myself here at Ananda Village in this beautiful spiritual community with harmonious people around me. I've traveled a great deal in these last few years and been to major cities and been to sporting events with tens of thousands of people. And even just driving down the road, you're passing hundreds of people every day and trusting that they want to live too, and they're not going to cross the line and hit you and kill each other. You're extending that trust and that harmony in so many ways that we take for granted. And so I think in those few years, I've crossed paths with, a good million people and have yet to see any evidence of that violence and hatred. And you may just say, well, it's just me, who I am is affecting that, and that I don't seem to attract violence and hatred. But that's the whole point of this song. That's the whole point in that passage from Secrets of Emotional Healing, is that if you live in peace and live in tune with the consciousness of peace, then you also experience peace in the world around you because your magnetism pervades outwardly from you and affects the world itself. Now, in closing, let me just mention that the movement of energy in the spine with this song is a little different from others that we have within Ananda music. It doesn't just start in, say, like the heart chakra, the third chakra, and lift the energy to the spiritual eye. It starts instead in the throat chakra, which is the center of calmness in the body and in the spine. That's where you experience peace first. That's the first verse. And then the second verse, it connects that peace up to the divine consciousness of the spiritual eye. And then in the third verse, it's bringing that consciousness back down into the medulla, into the throat, into the heart, bringing it into those experiences of pleasure and pain and joy and sorrow and the seasons, soothing those emotions first. And then in the fourth verse, that line, rays of God's presence within us, brings that energy down through the entire spine, through the entire body, out through the arms and legs, and into all of creation, into the world around us. That's the rays of God's presence coming through us and extending out. And where that peace is experienced in every cell, every atom of creation, in every thought, in every feeling. And so in this way, the song Peace is not just a meditation at the spiritual eye on the quality of peace. It's a peace that pervades every level of reality within us and around us, as befits the nature of divine consciousness. So try to feel that now as we listen to Swami Kriyananda singing this song from Windows on the World, where you can just hear and concentrate on that melody on one note coming through the song, and hear those beautiful harmonies and hear the rhythm come through, and try to feel that peacefulness pervading you and flowing out into the world.
Peace gave us the mountains, peace gave us the sky. Nightly when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby. Peace gave us the morning, peace gave us the sun, bird songs that call us to welcome day and fresh labors begun. Amen. Peace gave us the seasons, peace gave us the rain, cool clouds that gather to bless us, mist hands that soothe away pain. Peace gave us our heart's love, peace gave us our smiles, rays of thy presence within us, light that all strife reconciles. Amen. Amen.